Thanks for being so patient, my friend. I've been thinking about where the story should go next, and I've decided something important. From this chapter onwards, I'm going to slow the mystery down. Instead of introducing a new twist every chapter, I'm going to let the characters breathe. That way, when the big reveals happen later, they'll have much more emotional impact. So here's Chapter 8. And it's Chapter 8, Sunday Dinner. The first Saturday of April arrived with clear blue skies. For the first time in weeks, there wasn't a cloud in sight. Maria opened her bedroom window and breathed in the cool morning air. Somewhere down the street, a lawnmower buzzed into life. A dog barked happily. Birds sang from the oak tree outside her window. It was an ordinary morning, the kind of morning most people would forget. Maria treasured them now. Ordinary had become precious. Maria? Buddy's voice echoed through the house. We're making pancakes! Maria laughed. I'm coming! As she reached the kitchen, she stopped in the doorway. Flour covered almost every worktop. Buddy looked as though he'd walked through a snowstorm. Tommy was trying to flip a pancake and had somehow managed to throw it onto the light fitting. Crystal was laughing so hard she couldn't breathe. Susie stood with her hands on her hips. I leave you alone for 5 minutes. Lim looked proudly at the burnt pancake in his frying pan. I think we're doing very well. June looked around the kitchen. I think we'll be cleaning until lunchtime. Maria couldn't stop smiling. If someone had told her years ago that she'd one day miss burnt pancakes, she never would have believed them. After breakfast, June announced that everyone would be helping prepare Sunday dinner for Maria's grandparents. The house burst into activity. Crystal peeled potatoes. Jack set the dining table. Susie baked an apple pie. Tommy was put in charge of carrying drinks. Buddy was put in charge of... Buddy. June folded her arms. What exactly are you doing? Buddy looked up from the living room floor. I'm teaching the dog to play cards. The dog doesn't know how to play cards. He almost does. Everyone laughed. Even the dog barked, as though agreeing. Maria found herself helping Lim in the garden. He was repairing an old wooden fence that winter storms had damaged. Hold this for me. Maria steadied the fence post while Lim hammered a nail into place. After a few moments, he spoke without looking at her. You've been thinking a lot lately. Maria smiled faintly. So I've been told. I suppose that's part of growing up. She looked down at the grass. What if growing up means seeing things differently? Lim rested the hammer against the fence. It usually does. What if it makes you frightened? He thought for a moment. Being frightened isn't weakness. No, he smiled kindly. It means you've found something worth protecting. Maria felt those words settle deep inside her. Something worth protecting. He had no idea how right he was. By late afternoon, the house was filled with the smell of roast chicken, fresh vegetables, and homemade apple pie. Maria's grandparents arrived carrying far more desserts than anyone could possibly eat. The dining room quickly filled with laughter. Stories were told. Old family photographs were passed around. Buddy proudly announced that he intended to become either an astronaut or a pirate. He hadn't decided which. Crystal whispered to Maria, I give it until Tuesday before he changes his mind. Maria laughed. I'll take that bet. For several hours, life was wonderfully ordinary. As the evening drew to a close, Maria wandered upstairs to fetch another photo album. She paused outside her bedroom door. It was slightly open. She was sure she'd closed it. A cold feeling settled in her stomach. Slowly, she stepped inside. Everything looked exactly as she'd left it. Her books, her school bag, her unmade bed. She opened the bedside drawer. The phone was still there. She let out a quiet breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Nothing had been moved. Nothing had been taken. Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been there. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Maria unlocked the phone. 93%. Always 93. She opened the gallery. No new videos. No mysterious messages. Only the photographs she'd already seen dozens of times. She smiled at one of Buddy grinning with a missing front tooth. Another of Crystal asleep on the sofa after Christmas dinner. Then she stopped on a family selfie. At first glance, it looked completely normal. Everyone was smiling. June's arm rested around Lim's shoulders. Jack was making a ridiculous face behind Susie. Tommy was pretending not to notice. Buddy was holding a candy cane like a microphone. Maria zoomed in without really knowing why. Near the edge of the photograph, barely visible in the reflection of the front window, was the corner of a road sign. Most people would never have noticed it. Maria's heart began to race. She recognized the sign. It stood at a crossroads on the edge of town. A crossroads her family almost never used. She whispered the words before she even realized she remembered them. Why were we there? She stared at the photograph for a long time. Not because it gave her answers, but because it gave her a question she had never thought to ask. Perhaps the Christmas tragedy hadn't begun on Christmas Day. Perhaps it had begun with a journey. Maria gently locked the phone and placed it back in the drawer. Outside, a warm April breeze stirred the trees. Inside the Wilson house, everyone slept peacefully. None of them knew that somewhere in the future, one forgotten road might hold the key to everything. And Maria had just found the first real clue. I'm really happy with the direction this is taking. Rather than rushing to the ending, we're building a story where every ordinary